In the info section, you'll see a link to the article I wrote about the Stephen Avery case, popularized by the Making of a Murderer documentary. Now, that had not been on my radar whatsoever, but I ended up writing an article which I think covers a lot of topics, is fair, and also gets into a lot of the oddities, not only in the crimes and the evidence, but also all the strange and claims that generally come with this sort of thing, such as supposed occult ties. And that's where I started, actually, because I watched this following little clip from The Making of a Murderer.
Another mistake I did, I had a bunch of friends over who were fooling around with the cat. And I don't know, they were kind of negative on it. I tossed him over the fire, and he lit up.
Now, this killing of a cat made me think of two things instantly. One was Aleister Crowley, and the other one is just your general all-around psychopathy. Crowley, because he himself wrote a story about how he killed the cat. Here's what Aleister Crowley wrote in his book Confessions, Chapter 6. There is one amazing incident at the age of 14, as near as I can remember. I must premise that I have always been exceptionally tender-hearted, except for tyrants, for whom I think no torture bad enough. In particular, I am uniformly kind to animals. No question of cruelty or sadism arises in the incident that I'm about to narrate. Let me just pause because this is classic Crowley. You know, it's classic occult dialectic, right? It's like, I actually want to establish a new world occult order run by tyrants. But yeah, I don't really like them and stuff. And hey, I'm going to give you instructions as to how to sacrifice a little boy in a satanic ritual. But I sure do love animals. In fact, he loved them so much that apparently he engaged in bestiality. But that's another story. So we continue. I had been told a cat has 9 lives. I deduced that it must be practically impossible to kill a cat. As usual, I became full of ambition to perform the feat. Observe that I took my information unquestionably au pied de la lettre, by which he's just saying that he took it literally, that a cat has 9 lives, okay? Perhaps through some analogy with the story of Hercules and the Hydra, I got it into my head that the 9 lives of a cat must be taken more or less simultaneously. I therefore caught a cat, and having administered a large dose of arsenic, I chloroformed it, hanged it above a gas jet, stabbed it, cut its throat, smashed its skull, and, when it had been pretty thoroughly burnt, drowned it and then threw it out of the window that the fall might remove the 9th life. In fact, the operation was successful. I had killed the cat. I remember that all the time I was genuinely sorry for the animal. I simply forced myself to carry out the experiment in the interest of pure science. Yeah, well, that is what I was thinking of when I heard the Avery story. So again, if there's an actual connection or not, I don't know. It might be that they're both occultists. It might be that Avery was influenced by Crowley. It might be that they're both psychopaths. It might be all of the above. In looking into Avery, I realized there's quite a generation gap. Because, for instance, nowadays, the minute someone reports on a murderer, especially this kind of case, or a supposed satanic crime, or a serial killer, there's a good chance that they left behind a styled cyber diary, right? All kinds of website or blog posts and comments and videos and social networking sites. And so we would get a very good idea of their worldview from those. However, in the case of Avery, this happened so long ago, and he'd been incarcerated for so long that there's no such trail. So all we know about his beliefs is the little tiny slivers we might possibly get here and there. So it's incredibly difficult to tie this one instance to the other. However, it might mean that both Avery and Crowley had these psychopathic tendencies, because one of the characteristics of a psychopath is that they do these kind of things in their youth. They start by killing and torturing animals, and they eventually graduate to torturing and killing humans in their adulthood.
Of your little boy torturing the neighbor's terrier, setting fire to his bedroom, standing over the two of you while you slept, and he's holding a kitchen knife.
And he stabbed me.
All right, now here, I'm going to tell it to you straight, okay? There are 14 characteristics to a serial killer. Your son has 28. That's 2 14s. Or 1 Jeffrey Dahmer and 1 John Wayne Gacy in the body of a little 8-year-old boy.
So I would urge you to read the article and just to familiarize yourself with a lot of the issues that go into this difficult, confusing, fascinating, and disturbing case.
He had all kinds of rituals, and he broke them down into livres or books. So books had certain numbers, and each book you would do a certain practice or ritual. So people could do cruelty. For example, he had one cross of a frog, where you took a frog and crucified it in mockery of Christ. That was one of his rituals. Another was contained within Liber 66, and that goes to child sacrifice. It's about, and Crowley didn't write things out in really straight means. He kind of obliquely referenced stuff, but he talked about a sacrifice on an altar that would cover the altar with blood as of wine and things like that. So Liber 66 is an important element. He also wrote about child sacrifice in a book called The World's Tragedy, which was a mockery of Jesus Christ. It's some of the most vicious verse imaginable. A lot of stuff I can't repeat, but it was incredibly blasphemous. But Crowley believed in eating blood and other bodily fluid. I mean, it's just really disgusting stuff. Just to go back to our study, our talk about human sacrifice, here's the quote from Aleister Crowley's Magic and Theory Practice. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim.
Yeah.
So, he continues, for nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is the best.
Yeah.
He basically lays it out very, very easily. The astronaut representing David Bowie is wearing a smiley face. In the occult, the smiley face has a darker, esoteric meaning. It's the notion that the universe itself is a big, practical joke. Therefore, one's life and one's relationship to others can be seen as one cosmic joke. Comic book author and magician Alan Moore used the smiley face cosmic joke motif in his famous comic book, The Watchmen. Here, Blake, known as the comedian, is described as deliberately amoral. He suits the climate of Vietnam, the madness, the pointless butchery. He understands perfectly and he doesn't care. The comedian is wearing a smiley face badge at almost the exact spot where David Bowie's Major Tom is wearing it. The smiley face motif is also used by a group of killers ritually drowning men throughout the United States.
Another mistake I did, I had a bunch of friends over who were fooling around with the cat. And I don't know, they were kind of negative on it. I tossed him over the fire, and he lit up.
I'm a little concerned right now about your salvation and stuff.